And hello. This video session will be an adjunct to what we have been learning in one of the assignments this week. You are asked to recode or change a variable into a dichotomous variable. And I thought it would be a good time to walk you through some of the other functions in SPSS so that you are able to easily go ahead and recode and create new variables. So we have, what I've done also is look for this. I have also added a lecture, written lecture, that you could follow along with on the topics that we will be talking about in this video. So the first thing that I would like to talk about, we've already handled opening SPSS files and data sets, etc., and taking a look at the different views, variable views and data views, etc. So today, the first thing I'd like to talk about is creating a new variable. And as you can see, I have the short Nebraska data set up on my screen, and I'm in data view right now. I'm going to go over to variable view, and you can see there are only 45 variables here. And interestingly, let's say that I want to compute a new variable, okay, and I want to call it time to crime. And so I want to take a look at the variables that I already have, and I see that I have an age at first involvement in crime, and then I have an age to first arrest. So why don't we go ahead and compute a new variable called time to, let's call it time to arrest instead of time to crime. All right. So I want to count the number of years from a person's first involvement in crime to their age at the first arrest that they had. Okay, so I'm going to go over to transform. You could see I clicked it up there, and I'm going to go to compute variable. And we have all our variables, all our 45 variables listed here, and I have a target variable. So let's say we talked about time to arrest. Okay, we'll call it that, and don't put any spaces in here because it's a variable. And it will be, the label will be time from first crime to arrest. Missed an R there. Okay, so let's go ahead and make it a numeric and then continue. And you see I have like a calculator keyboard here, and that's the way we use it. So let's go take a look, and we want to look at age at first involvement in crime, which is V004A. So we want to take that, double click it, and it'll pop up in my expression. I'm just going to build a little mathematical expression here. Okay, and I'm going to take age at first. I'm sorry. Let's get rid of that. I'm doing it backward. Let's take age at first arrest. Age at first arrest, which is V003. Double click that, and then I'm going to make a space, and I could do this two ways here. I could use the negative sign here, or I could type the negative sign on my keyboard, and you can see that it already inserted a space there for me. And so time at first arrest minus age at first involvement in crime. Okay, V004A. So double click that, and you can see that my OK came on because I have already put in my target variable, which will create a new variable. SPS will actually create a new variable for me, and I've told it that I want it to be numeric. Okay, I could, in addition to using what you see up here, I could also use all these functions here, and we'll go through those at another time. But there are mathematic functions, there are date functions, there are conversions, there are arithmetic functions, so all different kinds of things that SPSS will do automatically for you. In this particular instance, let's just go ahead and say, and another thing that I should tell you is that we could say if, so we could say I only want people when VOO3 are over 18. So we could filter out different things. We won't do that in this particular one. So just hit OK, and I've got an illegal character in there, and you know what it is? I put a space in. So let's just get rid of that space and say OK, and it executed it for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over into the data view, and if I scroll over to the right all the way to the end, you'll see that it has a time to arrest. Okay, and you can see that in many instances, this is 3 years, 4 years, 1 year, 3 years, 2 years, and these minus numbers are somehow or another miscoded in the database. So, and you can see there's 74 years, so that wouldn't be germane. This guy made it 27 years from his first involvement in crime to his first arrest, so that's remarkable. And you know what we could do here? Now this is kind of interesting, because if you want, you could run an average. So you could find the mode and the mean and the median, and kind of find out what the average is from a person's first involvement in crime to their first arrest. So kind of interesting. Let me skip over to the next one on recoding variables. So my next task, and what you're going to need for question 3 in the homework, is how do I recode a variable. And in this particular instance, I'm asking you to recode variable 049 into a dichotomous variable. If you remember back to the first week, a dichotomous variable is either or. Okay, it's either on or it's off, it's 0 or it's 1, it's 2 or it's 3, but it's mutually exclusive. It's dichotomous. It's a dichotomy, two things. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have in 49, and that is agree. Good criminals never go straight. So let's take a look at the label, and you have a whole mess of things up here. They're definitely not dichotomous. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different instances of this. What we want to do is make that either be agree or disagree. Okay, so let's go ahead and remember, 1 is strongly agree, 2 is agree, 3 is disagree, 4 is strongly disagree, 8 is not applicable, and 9 is unknown. So let's go ahead and make a new variable. The first thing we're going to do is transform, and we're going to not compute, but we're going to recode. We never, almost never, want to recode into the same variables, because that destroys your data. We want to always recode into different variables so that we're never overwriting what we already have. That way, if we make a mistake, we could go back and change it. Okay, so let's go ahead, recode into different variables. And we're going to go down to 049 right here, bring that in, and the old and the new variables, well, the new variable is going to be new 049. That's just a name that I picked, and just go ahead and take that. Then we're going to say old and new variables. Okay, so we just clicked on old and new variables, and we come into recode, the recode workbox. Okay, so I'm just going to remove these, and you'll see what I'm going to do in a minute. So the first thing we want to do is take those two ranges, remember agree and strongly agree, and say that if it's worth 1 or it's worth 2, which was the agree or strongly disagree, that's going to be worth agree now. So I'm just going to say I'm going to recode it into 0. And I'm going to add that, and then I want to take the two disagrees, the disagree and strongly disagree, which were 3 and 4, and I want to do a range, so either 3 or through 4, and it could be 3 through 200. You know, you could use this range a lot. There's also a lowest and a highest, and all other values, system missing, or a particular value. So you can do a lot with this box, okay? But in this particular instance, a 3 or a 4, I just put 2 in here, I want 3. 3 or 4 is going to be disagree, so I'm going to recode that into 1 because I recoded the other one, as you recall, into 0. And I'm going to add that. And then I'm going to say all other variables, remember those 8 and 9s, are going to be system missing. Those aren't applicable to what we're doing. So I'm going to add that. And I'm going to continue. And the next thing that I do is say OK, and it will go ahead and look what it did. It recoded a new variable for me. And I'm going to go to the label, the value. And remember I said 0 is going to be agree, because we want just an agree and a disagree. And 1 is going to be disagree. And this will give me a dichotomous variable. Okay? And I'll say OK. Now, if I go to the data view and look at over here, I only have in new 049, I only have zeros and ones. Okay, except in the system missings, which I won't use because they aren't applicable to a dichotomous situation. And it went through and created a new variable, or recoded a variable into a different variable called, and you can see over here, the old 049, and here's the new 049. So it recoded all those. So if we find a 1, it recoded it to 1 or a 2, it recoded it into a 0, and a 3 and a 4, it recoded it into a 1. Okay? Let's go ahead and tackle the next item.